Okay. Let me figure out how to do this first. I'm sorry. That's the one. There it is. Yay. This is the 4th year I've done this, and I appreciate you all coming out, and I hope you enjoy what I do. But the last 4 years, I've tried to put together a presentation that highlights what has been found or talked about during 2017 or the previous year. My process is to clip out newspaper articles, go on the web, and I've got a lot of websites that I go to, and find various pieces. And it ends up being usually about 50 articles. And then in November and December, I start sifting through all those, reading through them, finding out what's really cool. Now, I have to admit, it's really cool to me, not necessarily to you, because I'm the one who has to stand up here. Okay, and please bear with me when I try to pronounce some of these names. Some of them are not in my language. But first, a commercial. And we just did this commercial already. As a prelude to our main lecture, I'm going to say it again, Dr. Bernice Jones, our Timesifters secretary, will depart from her career in ancient Greek art and archaeology to relate to the story of her grandmother, Jenny. She was the mother of 3 toddlers who survived oppression, persecution, and abject poverty in wartime Lithuania, Poland. She had ultimately brought her children to freedom in America, and the story is set against the background of World War I, the Russian Revolution, and Civil War. John Jaffer's presentation will review what is known about the tragic events of Gardezay. I ruined it, I know. Gardezay, Lithuania during World War II. 2 days after Germany invaded the Soviet Union, the Germans executed 200 Jewish men in this border town. This may be regarded as the start of the Holocaust. The town's Jewish women and children were held prisoner until September of '41 and then shot in the nearby forest. The brutal execution of the women and children was conducted by Lithuanian officials. So, as we've mentioned, please note that the material in this particular lecture may be upsetting to some people. Please come join us on February 21st for this very interesting presentation. Excuse me, I have to get my glasses. I'm getting old. Ah, there it is. While compiling the information for this presentation, a variety of sources are used. Some of them include Archaeology magazine, which is the official publication of the Archaeological Institute of America. Current World Archaeology, which is a fantastic monthly British publication, and British Archaeology, which is the official magazine of the Council for British Archaeology. Also, BBC History is another monthly British publication with a heavy slant towards British history. And it is also a guide to what is being broadcast on the BBC network, as well as being exhibited in the museums of the world. I also go to the UNESCO World's website, the newspapers and websites of The Guardian, the Daily Mail, the Washington Post, Reuters, and the Telegraph. The websites of CNN, CBS News, BBC World News, as well as Wikipedia and National Geographic. On each slide, I also mention additional sources for that particular subject. So let's start with the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. UNESCO World Heritage List now includes 1,073 properties, forming part of the cultural and natural heritage with the World Heritage Committee has considered to have outstanding universal value. If you're interested, go to their website to see the complete list with descriptions of each site and why and when they were selected. The list will help you keep track of the sites you visit in your travels. There are some truly amazing places on this list. In 2017, the committee added 18 new sites to the list. We're going to talk about the 7 in white. Now the challenge comes with the names. The small ancient Greek Hellenistic city of Aphrodisias is one of the best preserved archaeological sites of Anatolia, Turkey. It is partly excavated, with large areas still to be unearthed. It is located near the modern village of Geri, about 62 miles inland from the coast of the Aegean Sea, in the upper valley of the Morsinus River. The World Heritage Site consists of two components: the archaeological site and the marble quarries northeast of the city. The Temple of Aphrodite dates from the 3rd century BCE, and the city was built a century later. Aphrodisias was named after Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love. The city was the metropolis of the region and the capital of the Roman province of Cairo. The source of its wealth came from the marble quarries and the art produced by its sculptors. White and blue-gray Carian marble was extensively quarried from the adjacent slopes in the Hellenistic and Roman periods and used for building facades and sculptures. The city was destroyed by an earthquake in the early 7th century CE and never recovered its former prosperity. Excavations at the city have been in progress since 1961. The Assumption Cathedral is located in the island town Shavesnik and is part of the monastery of the same name. The town is in the Republic of Tatarstan, Russia, located at the confluence of the Volga and Svega rivers. It was founded by Ivan IV, or also known as Ivan the Terrible, in 1551 as a fortress, and it was built within 4 weeks, in other words, during the summer, from parts made in Uglik and transported down the Volga. It was from this outpost that he initiated the conquest of the Kazan Khanate. In 1955, the Kubyeshev Reservoir was finished near the town of Toyati, which is downstream on the Volga. Because of the rising waters, the town became an island. It is currently connected to the mainland by a causeway, and its population is around 258 brave souls. The Assumption Monastery illustrates in its location and architectural style the political and missionary program developed by Tsar Ivan IV to extend the Moscow state. The cathedral's frescoes are among the rarest examples of Eastern Orthodox mural paintings. The caves and Ice Age art of the Swabian Jura are a collection of 6 caves in southern Germany. The caves are located in the Rhone and Ach River valleys. Humans have been using this forever, these caves, to shelter during the terrible winters that Germany used to have. Starting in the 1860s, ongoing excavations in the caves have revealed items dating from 43,000 to 33,000 years old. Some of the rare items found in the caves include a statuette of a female form, carved figurines of animals, including cave lions, mammoths, horses, and cattle, musical instruments, and items of personal adornment. Some of the figurines depict creatures that are half human and half animal. These archaeological sites feature some of the oldest figurative art worldwide and shed light on the origins of the human artistic development. This particular one here, okay, is that it? There it is. This has a lion head on a human body. They recently completed it because they were missing pieces of it, and they've been excavating continuously there, and they finally found the bottom leg on the left-hand side. It's made out of wood. The walled city of Ahmedabad was founded by Sultan Ahmed Shah I of the Gujarat Sultanate in 1411. It sits on the eastern bank of the Sabarmati River, The city has a rich architectural heritage from the Sultanate period, notably the Inca Citadel, the walls and gates of the fort city, as well as numerous mosques and tombs. It also houses important Hindu and Jain temples of later periods. The urban fabric is made up of densely packed traditional houses in gated streets with characteristic features such as bird feeders, public wells, and religious institutions. For over 600 years, the city has flourished as the capital of the state of Gujarat. The city of Yazd is the capital of Yazd province and is located in the middle of the Iranian plateau, close to the ancient spice and silk routes. It bears a living testimony to the use of limited resources for survival in the desert. Water is supplied to the city through a canal system developed to draw underground water. The earthen architecture of Yazd has escaped the modernization that destroyed many traditional earthen towns. It retains its traditional districts, the qanat system, the traditional houses, bazaars, hammams, mosques, synagogues, Zoroastrian temples, and the historic garden of Daulat Abad. It is known for its Persian handicrafts, hand-woven cloth, silk weaving, and its time-honored confectionaries, including Persian cotton candy. If you notice here, this is the city. Almost everything is still made out of mud brick. It hasn't been modernized to stone and wood. That's one of its reasons they chose it. Okay, do it. There we are. The temple in the richness of the forest, also known as Sambor Pri Cook in the Khmer language, has been identified as Ishanapura, the capital of the Chenle Empire that flourished in the late 6th and early 7th century CE. This archaeological site is in Cambodia, located in Kampong Phom province, 109 miles east of Angkor and 128 miles north of Phnom Penh. The vestiges of the city cover an area of 9.5 square miles, or over 6,000 acres. It includes a walled city center as well as numerous temples, 10 of which are octagonal, which are unique specimens of their genre in Southeast Asia. Decorated sandstone elements in the site are characteristic of the pre-Angkor decorative idiom, known as Sambor Pri Cook style. Some of these elements included lintels, pediments, and colonnades are true masterpieces. The art and architecture developed here became models for the other parts of the region and lay the groundwork for the unique Khmer style of the Angkor period. Unfortunately, the area was heavily mined during the civil war between the Khmer Rouge and the freedom fighters and still contains a ton of unexplored ordnance. Now this is interesting. The Venetian works of defense consist of 6 fortifications, 3 in Italy, 2 in Croatia, and 1 in Montenegro. They span from the Alps of the Lombard region of Italy to the eastern Adriatic coast of Montenegro. The fortifications throughout the Stadio d'Altera protected the Republic of Venice from other European powers to the northwest, and those of the Stadio del Mar protected the sea routes and ports in the Adriatic. They were necessary to support the expansion and authority of the Republic of Venice. The introduction of gunpowder led to significant shifts in military techniques and architecture that are reflected in the design of the so-called alla moderna bastion fortifications. This style was to spread throughout Europe. Each of the cities required a different solution, but the basic design was applied to a great success. The defensive works include Bergamo, which is located at the foot of the Italian Alps, has imposing defensive walls and bastions built in the 16th century. It was the westernmost outpost of the entire defensive system. The imposing walls around Bergamo stretch for almost 4 miles and reaches a height of 164 feet. The walls are equipped with 4 monumental gateways that allow access to the historic center. Pescera, built in 1549, is a pentagon-shaped city fortress nestled on the shores of Lake Garda in the Veneto region. The walls and imposing ramparts appear to jut out directly from the lake. It is an exceptional rare example of a waterway fortified city. The Alla Moderna fortification is superimposed on the pentagon shape of the pre-existing medieval structure, with the addition of 5 bastions and 2 entrance gates. It was furthermore reinforced with embankments and riders, a structure suitable for the range of artillery thanks to its high elevation. Palma Nova, this beauty. There's 2 other pictures here. Palma Nova, a 9-point star-shaped fortress city. The peculiar hexagonal structure and its perfect symmetry make it one of a kind, a true war machine, with bastions and walls designed taking into the account the range of the cannons of the time. It represents the ideal fortified city. The fortress contains a 173-acre urban center enclosed within 3 concentric walls, 2 Venetian walls, and an outermost French perimeter, giving Palma Nova its characteristic 9-point star shape. It's beauty from the air. St. Nicholas Fortress. It's located in the town of Sibnik, in the eastern shores of the Adriatic in central Croatia. It was built in 1525 on an island on the left side at the entrance to St. Anthony's Channel. It got its name from the Benedictine monastery of St. Nicholas, which was originally on the island, but was demolished during the construction of the fort. It was built to prevent Turkish ships from reaching the port. The fortress was armed with 32 cannons, but its imposing appearance and size were a bigger threat to enemy than cannons ever were. Zadar, Croatia. King Ladislaus of Naples sold Zadar to Venice in 1409. Venice therefore obtained control of Zadar without a fight. It remained the administrative seat of Dalmatia, but this time under the rule of Venice. The 16th and 17th centuries were noted in Zadar for Ottoman Turk attacks. Ottomans captured the continental part of Zadar at the beginning of the 16th century, and the city itself was always in the range of Turkish artillery. Due to that threat, the construction of a new system of castles and walls began. After the 40-year-long construction, Zadar became the biggest fortified city in Dalmatia, empowered by a system of castles, bastions, and canals filled with seawater. Kotar, Montenegro. The old medieval port of Kotar is surrounded by fortifications built during the Venetian period. It is located on the Bay of Kotar, one of the most indented parts of the Adriatic Sea. It is really a beautiful place. I went there about 2 years ago. It's gorgeous. The city was part of the Venetian Republic from 1420 to 1797. 4 centuries of Venetian domination have given the city the typical Venetian architecture. Under Venetian rule, Kotar was besieged by the Ottoman Empire in 1538, was nearly destroyed by an earthquake in 1563, endured the plague in 1572, was besieged again by the Ottomans in 1657, and was nearly destroyed by an earthquake in 1667. But it's still standing. If you look, I don't know if you can see it, there's, going up the mountain, there's a huge mountain behind this, huge mountain. And this sits on a spit of land, and the mountain's like this. The fortress goes all all the way up the mountain to the top and all the way back down to the bottom. And it's phenomenal. And you see how this is angular, the walls, that helps deflect cannonballs. Sherry, you're up next. Those are representations of the 18 new World Heritage Sites for 2017. If you're interested, go to the World Heritage Site. Program and information on the site, it's just phenomenal, the amount of information there. And there's other sites, there's 1,097 sites in the world. These are only the archaeological sites that I show. There's also natural sites like the Grand Canyon or other natural pieces of beauty throughout the world. So there's more to it than just the archaeological. Now I'd like to talk about 8 discoveries of the significance that were announced in 2017. Some of these discoveries have been in the process for years, but were only revealed to the public this year. And it'll catch up to us. It has to do something.
You haven't clicked to the next slide yet, have you?
There it is. Okay. On March 10th, archaeologists discovered a massive 3-ton, 30-foot statue that they originally thought was the ancient Egyptian ruler, Pharaoh Ramses II. It was submerged in the groundwater of a Cairo area slum. The sculpture, believed to be some 3,000 years old, was found near the ruins of the ancient city of Heliopolis. A team of Egyptian and German archaeologists have been excavating the site since 2012, and the dig was just wrapping up, having found little else of great import. The statue, after further inspection, is now thought to be Pharaoh Psammetichus I of the 26th dynasty, who ruled Egypt from 664 to 610 BCE. The biggest clue pointing to the statue's true identity was the discovery of an inscription on it that read Neba. The only pharaoh who was referred to as Neba was the Pharaoh Psammetichus I, who ruled Egypt for 54 years. The statue's other characteristics led archaeologists to believe that the artifact came from Egypt's late period. If true, researchers believe it would be the largest statue from the late period ever discovered. Other fragments of the statue will need to be studied to confirm the identity with certainty. Archaeologists have also recovered 2 toes and a pedestal from the colossal statue. The pedestal, which is engraved with a hieroglyphic inscription, was damaged, but was by its long submersion in groundwater. The team has now recovered 40% of the statue. They're still hoping to discover additional pieces. A much smaller statue, believed to depict Pharaoh Seti II, was also found at the site. All the discovered artifacts will be displayed at the new Grand Egyptian Museum set to open in 2018. Now, here's a short video with additional information. There is no sound, sorry, but then it was only in Egyptian anyhow, so nobody would have understood it. It's interesting how everybody has to touch it. He's speaking in English, so it's okay. No, he's actually an Egyptian. Okay, baby, go. Just click on it. Yeah, just anyway, click. It should go to the next one. You move. There it is. Something that's near and dear to Bernice. Centuries before the destruction of the Mycenaean palace of Nestor in Pylos, a warrior died and was buried alone at the site. The grave of the Griffin warrior, a shaft grave, which predates the palace by over 100 years, includes one of the most magnificent displays of wealth discovered in Greece in recent decades. The palace was destroyed by fire, and the remains slumbered in an olive grove until first discovered and excavated in 1939. But excavations were stopped because of World War II. Excavations continued in 1952 with the discovery of the name Pylos preserved on several clay tablets, inscribed in Greek in Linear B script. The University of Cincinnati renewed the excavations at the palace in 2015. And that was the year the warrior's tomb was discovered. It was excavated during that summer. Because of the wealth of the items found in the grave, the masterpiece was pushed aside as an unimportant piece of rock. Unimportant piece of rock. Until a year later when it was cleaned. That is when it was revealed as a truly unique masterpiece. Conservation of the artifact, which is 1.5 inches, that's all the bigger it is, 1.5 inches, from end to end, revealed an agate finely carved with an image of a battle between a victorious soldier wearing a codpiece and another wearing a kilt. A second kilt-clad fighter is shown dead on the ground. The seal stone was mounted so that it could have been worn on the wrist. It is now dubbed the Pylos combat agate. It is likely to have been imported from Crete and then buried with the Griffin warrior, who may have been a local chieftain in southern Greece around 1450 BCE. The detailed image was probably created with the use of a magnifying glass, but no such tool has been found in Crete to date. Now check out the detail, and remember this is only 1.5 inches from end to end. The detail of the hair and the muscle structure is totally amazing. This is a drawing of it, but that's the piece. That's what it looked like. This is the shaft grave, but look at the detail. It's phenomenal. Truly a masterpiece. Now here's something really cool. It's always fantastic when a lost city is discovered. There are still many ancient secrets hidden in Peru's inaccessible rainforest. Archaeological expeditions often face struggles to enter sites overrun by vegetation. The Andina News Agency reported on September 9th that villagers living in Peru's southern rainforest, over 620 miles southeast of the capital Lima, discovered a remote Inca site. They were grazing their animals near the Megatoni National Sanctuary when they stumbled upon the hidden city. The remote site is a 5-day trek by foot from the city of Cusco. After alerting local authorities, they returned to explore the impressive archaeological remains with government officials. The site has the remnants of platforms, passages, walls, and even a stone dwelling hidden among the foliage, along with a lot of snakes. The mayor of Cusco, Wilfredo Alagon, announced that the next steps are to secure the site and then investigate it further. An expedition led by provincial authorities has set out to explore the site in more detail, and we should hear more about this interesting discovery this year. Rob, are you going? Since February, archaeologists have been working in central China's Henan province near the city of Xinjiang on a 2,400-year-old burial pit containing over 90-plus horses and at least 4 chariots. The pit was found in a cemetery of more than 3,000 tombs and 18 pits. Along with 2 others in the immediate vicinity, they are thought to have belonged to a lord of the Western Zhou dynasty, who ruled between 770 and 476 BCE. This pit is the largest of the 3 to be excavated so far. It is a vertical earthen pit, which is very common for this time period. The tomb is far smaller than the famous terracotta army found in 1974. But luckily, it has been undisturbed and has not suffered the ravages of grave robbers, like many of the other tombs in the region. The most valuable discovery by far is the chariots and horses. Archaeologists say the position of the horses lying on their sides show that the animals were slaughtered before burial, not entombed alive. While the scale of the tomb's contents is what makes it impressive, one chariot in particular stands apart. It is a little over 8 feet long and by around 5.5 feet wide, lavishly adorned with bronze and bone, with a canopy to protect the passenger from sun and exposure. Other discoveries included pottery, Copan weaponry, jade, and other objects. Share your note. Check out the man in the blue shirt over here. He's a staff member, and he has an interesting job. He sprays water to maintain the humidity of one of the Horse and Chariot pits. He's got a water bottle on his back. And here's a short film. No sound, it was just music.
What were the chariots made of material?
Wood.
They were preserved.
Yes, very much so. But why 90 horses if there's only 8 chariots? YouTube is great, isn't it? Come on, baby, you can do it. Keep clicking. PowerPoint is fantastic, except when it doesn't work. Oh, it starts again.
That was me trying to make sure it was stopped.
Oh, okay. There it is. I try to give you a wide variety of things. At 15 minutes past midnight on the 30th of July, 1945, the USS Indianapolis, a Portland-class heavy cruiser of the U.S. Navy, was torpedoed and sunk within 12 minutes. She was struck on her starboard side by 2 Type 95 torpedoes, one in the bow and one amidships, from the Japanese submarine I-58, captained by Commander Hashimoto. 1,197 sailors and Marines were on board, of which 900 crewmen appeared to have made it through the initial sinking. These survivors faced exposure, dehydration, saltwater poisoning, and shark attacks, while floating with a few lifeboats and almost no food or water. Only 316 survived to be rescued when help arrived 5 days later. She sank in over 18,000 feet of water in the North Pacific Ocean. On August 19th of last year, 72 years later, the expedition crew of Paul G. Allen's rescue research vessel, Petrel, located the wreckage. The 16-person expedition team will continue the process of surveying the full site as weather permits. The USS Indianapolis remains the property of the Navy, and its location will remain confidential and restricted by the Navy. It is considered a tomb for all the sailors that died. If you interesting, go to the website that Paul G. Allen has, and he's got even more pictures, and it's weird. It's a weird feeling.
Was the Indianapolis the ship that brought the atomic bomb to Tinian?
Yes. Yes. It was on its return back to Hawaii. It had just dropped off everything over at the bomb.
Sunk after the war was over, too.
Is that? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And the guy that was the captain, he was sailing in a straight line because the war was over, but the guy that torpedoed him didn't know it. And they court-martialed this guy, and he committed suicide. The captain.
The submarine captain.
No, the captain of the Indianapolis.
The Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Oh, he survived?
Yeah.
Oh.
They court-martialed him because he was sailing, and nobody knew the boat had left. And no one knew where it was. They didn't even know it was sunk for
Yeah.
days.
5 days later is when they finally found it. Scientists reported on June 7th in Nature magazine that the remains found in the cave of Jebel Arhoud are the oldest known remains of Homo sapiens. In the late 60s, Richard Leakey and his fellow paleoanthropologists found the first Homo sapien fossils in the Kibish Formation of Ethiopia, dated at the time as 130,000 years old. In 2003, in Herto, Ethiopia, anthropologists discovered a skull estimated to be 160,000 years old. A pair of partial skulls from another site, Omo Kabush, dated to around 195,000 years of age, at the time making these the oldest fossils of our species. This illustration shows where they were found, all through here. Morocco is up here. A pair of partial skulls. This illustration shows the locations of these finds. The Jebel Arhoud fossils are roughly 100,000 years older, or roughly 300,000 years old. Workers discovered the bone site in the 1960s. Barite miners excavating a hill in western Morocco hit a pocket of red sediment, which contained ancient stone tools, limbs, and a human skull, which the workers gave to the quarry doctor. The doctor turned the skull over to scientists. It was a puzzling bone. At first, the skull was linked to Neanderthals, a species that has been found in Europe, but never in Africa. It wasn't until 2004 when Jean-Jacques Hublin, a director of the Max Planck Institute, was able to gather the funding to start a serious campaign to unearth the site. His team has been working at it for over a decade. The team has uncovered more than 20 new human bones relating to at least 5 individuals, including a remarkably complete jaw, and skull fragments and stone tools. The jaw, the tools. That's John pointing at the skull. The flint tools were elegant, much more elegant than the heavy cleavers earlier in the Stone Age. Found among them were the remains of butchered gazelle, zebra, wildebeest, and hartebeest. The researchers also discovered bones from a few carnivores, including lions and leopards. This is a finding that rewrites the story of mankind's origins and suggests that our species evolved in multiple locations across the African continent. Last year, I told you about some Greek smugglers who got caught at the Albanian border. It's still going on. The arts and crafts retailer Hobby Lobby has agreed to pay $3 million fine for illegally importing thousands of ancient Iraqi clay artifacts smuggled into the United States. In addition to the fine, Hobby Lobby will forfeit thousands of clay boule, cuneiform tablets, and cylinder seals that were falsely labeled and shipped to the company through the United Arab Emirates and Israel, according to a civil complaint and settlement agreement in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York. According to the complaint, Hobby Lobby began collecting a range of historically significant manuscripts and other antiquities in 2009. The following July, Hobby Lobby President Steve Green traveled with a consultant to the UAE, where they inspected a large cache of cuneiform tablets and other artifacts. 2 Israeli antiquities dealers and 1 from the UAE were in attendance. The dealers said the items were from a family collection of a third dealer. They later sent Hobby Lobby a provenance statement indicating that the artifacts were legally acquired in the 1960s from local markets. After returning to the United States, Green and an in-house lawyer spoke with an expert on cultural property law, who warned them that antiquities from the ancient Iraq may have been looted from archaeological sites. In a memo, the expert told him that any item of Iraqi origin that were not properly declared would be seized by custom officials. Hobby Lobby proceeded with the sale. The Oklahoma-based company bought more than 5,500 artifacts that originated in modern-day Iraq for $1.6 million in December of 2010. When it came time to pay, the company wired money to 7 different bank accounts. The UAE-based dealer sent 10 packages to 3 different Hobby Lobby addresses in Oklahoma City, with shipping labels reading ceramic tiles or samples of clay tiles. Prosecutors said the use of the multiple addresses was consistent with methods used by cultural property smugglers to avoid scrutiny by customs. Customs later intercepted 5 additional packages, all of them falsely declaring that the artifacts inside came from Turkey. A final shipment containing about 1,000 clay boule arrived at Hobby Lobby from Israel in September of 2011. That one also misrepresented the artifact's country of origin as Israel. Hobby Lobby's owners portray their company as a Christian business and are known for supporting Christian causes. It began collecting a variety of Bibles and other artifacts several years ago with the goal of preserving them for future generations. Hobby Lobby President Steve Green is one of the driving forces behind the recently opened Museum of the Bible, a 430,000 square foot facility in Washington, D.C., and will reportedly house thousands of biblical artifacts and texts. Something lighter. On September 14th, the BBC reported that the remains of a 1932 MG J2 Roadster has been unearthed within a World War II artillery position during excavations at Lark Hill Military Base on the Salisbury Plain. It is believed to have been a pool car used by the troops training in the 60s. Damian Campbell Bell of Wessex Archaeology described the find as a real surprise. This particular MG J2 is pretty rare, and it was one of only 2,083 of this model ever made. He said, "We can tell from the tire pattern," right, "the car was probably in use until the early 60s, at which point it seems to have been abandoned in the artillery position." He also thinks that the car had been dismantled for repair by a local soldier who was then reassigned. The find is part of a large excavation in Lark Hill site and is one of a number of areas on Salisbury Plain that are set to that will see the re-accommodation of the UK in the UK from Germany under the Army basing program. Whew. Had to lighten it up. There you go. That was a misrepresentation, yes, of what happened in the archaeology in 2017. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I put it. Now I can try to answer some questions if you have any. There's a lot of stuff there. Any questions? Yes?
The chariot wheels from the Chinese site were those originally wooden, or they look clay?
I think what they did is they took molds from what was the impression in the clay, and that's what we see here, because the wood would be long gone by now. Yeah. Anyone else? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.